But the important thing to realize is that I tell people is this is not you. You are not this thing. This thing is inside of your psyche, but it is not you. It is a separate entity, right? Your mind is not your friend. It is a part of your mind, and it's not real. Here we are, Vitruvian 5000. You would not think that, on a podcast that deals with the future of transhumanism that we couldn't get headphones to work, but alas,
AirPods.
Here we are.
They almost got me, man. They almost took us down, but we found these trusty old studio headphones, Call of Duty style, and here we are. And all I need is a little mic right here.
No, man. I tell you what, I'm kind of jealous. I should have gotten my
sick,
right? Oh my gosh, man. So what's going on, man? How's your week going?
I'm sick, man. I got like a summer kind of like flu kind of thing. Yeah. I was had a little bit of a fever yesterday. I think I kind of still have one,
man. Summer colds are like, it's so brutal.
But I'm here and I'm doing it and we're doing it. So fuck it, man.
Dude, this week, I don't know if you saw, but I posted, but I got a chance to roll with Cyborg, and I was not like
I saw you posted that, and I was gonna text you on and send you a message on Instagram, and but I did not. But how did that go?
Oh my gosh, man, it's crazy. So for those
he's like a fucking
Cyborg,
unit, right?
Cyborg is a machine. I mean, that name is apt because he's like 240 pounds. And so I was down at Fight Sport, South Beach location, where a buddy of mine, Siraj, it's his gym. And, they're part of Fight Sports, and Cyborg is the professor. That's his gym. And so this is an affiliate. And he came in and saw me rolling with Siraj and Baron Bowling. It's my game. I'm a Baron Bowling guy. And so we talked. I had met him before when and we talked about it when I was photographing doing that book on the UFC, and I was shooting Cyborg grappling with Leandro Lowe and Marcus Buchecha, and it was insane because the three of these guys are over 220 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And Buchecha is like a NFL linebacker, and so is Cyborg. And to watch them in that gym and they were just going at it. It was like the fastest, like heaviest. I've never seen jiu-jitsu like that. It's such a different level. And so anyways, we talked about that. And then he saw me like Baron Bowling and working with things with Siraj. And so the next week he came in and he and I talked. And the next week he came in and he's like, come on, let's roll. And I'm like, oh my God, 160 pounds, man. And so we rolled, but within like the first, I'm playing guard, I'm a guard player. And so, but within the first, I would say 15 seconds, he like hip switched to get around my legs. And as he hip switched, he landed like to close the distance. And my hand was here. And it wrist locked me to where I was like, damn. And he was like, what happened? What happened? And I'm like, bro. He's like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And we kept rolling. But the takeaway for me was that he was so flexible. And so his Baron Bowling game is so good. It's amazing.
Really?
So for someone that big, to have such a very technical game like that. And I think that's one of the reasons he wanted to roll, because he saw my game and the Baron Bolo and all that and being so technical.
Sure.
It was a chance for us to have like Baron Bolo battles and for him to work on that. And so it was cool because we were going back and forth. And a few times I could not stop his hook for the Baron Bolo. And that's pretty rare for me. And so I was like, damn, dude, your Baron Bolo is good. But he was so flexible.
Did you feel like just power, absolute power?
Absolute power. Absolute. And, I mean, in all fairness, there's no way that he's giving me 100% of his power.
No,
he's too big for me.
definitely.
So I think he was, but I could feel behind the moves. I could feel the power. At times when he wanted to put just a little bit more on, I could feel it where I was like, holy shit. But I just came away impressed with his athleticism and his agility and the technicality of his game. And so it was really cool. So by the time this thing drops, both ADCC and CJI are going to be completed. And he's competing at ADCC, but Craig Jones Invitational is going to be this weekend or next weekend also. So
a friend of mine had a ticket to ADCC, and we asked me if I wanted to go. But I've just been traveling so much, and I got to travel again in September. I decided to not do it.
It's hard.
I also kind of feel like it's not going to be as good because of CJI.
It's not. I mean, I'm not really that interested in watching ADCC.
Yeah.
I'm interested in watching CJI, man. I'm
definitely,
like, Rutolos are in it, man. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I think Diego Pato's in it. There are a lot of people that I want to see. I think Gio Martinez is coming back. I don't have the list, but the roster, but it looks good. So I'm really pumped about that. How about you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I'm not that interested in CJI. I mean, it's not. I mean, no, ADCC. I want to watch CJI.
Yeah. It's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. So a lot of jiu-jitsu this weekend. I will be in London. I am flying out on Wednesday, like red eye. So I will arrive in London, go see my baby, my daughter, and my granddaughter.
That's great.
So
man.
yeah,
that's great. How long are you going to stay for?
I think a couple weeks.
Okay.
I think a couple weeks, and then I am ending my Mushishugyo, my samurai Ronin ways, and I'm leaving Miami and going back up to North Florida.
And then you're going to settle out in Destin for a while?
Yep, I'm going to settle up there for a while. Yep.
And how come? Like, what's going
on? They're just such a great opportunity with the resort that, my buddy's resort, I've been helping, with, I'm a lawyer. And so, as you know, and so just doing all the legal work and everything and laying the groundwork for it for so long that, since it started, since it was raw land, and now, just being so involved with it, it's like this opportunity to
there's
launch
more work to be done, and it just makes sense to be.
There's more work to be done, and it's super, super exciting because we're launching this brand that, launching a hotel in a few years. And once we launch the hotel, there'll be opportunity to take the hotel brand, global and do more sites. And so that opportunity, awesome. With weighing it against opening a gym in Miami, I was like, and he's been asking me for a while, to do it. And then finally I was like, all right, we came to an agreement on it. So I was like, yeah, this is going to be really, really exciting. But the good thing is my best friend my entire life.
Yeah.
From New Orleans.
If you need to shoot down to Miami, you shoot down to Miami. Not that far.
No, and shoot anywhere. So yeah. So I'm excited. I'm really pumped. But the good thing is I'll have a house up there. I'll have a place. I'm going to build a little podcast studio like you, where I can have my lights and everything. Yeah, I'm at that stage with this whole Mushishugyo, again, the Mushishugyo is when samurai, like Miyamoto Musashi, that was a big part of their training, where they were like, all right, it's time to leave the gym. It's time to leave everything behind and just travel the world. So I was kind of called to do that with, at the beginning of COVID, but I have not had a place in 4 years.
Wow.
4 years, going on 5 years. Wow. So I am ready, more than ready to settle down for the next 7. Next 7 years, and then maybe Europe. We'll see again. Who knows?
Maybe the winds come a calling again.
Exactly. So, it was really cool, man. I saw there was this really, really heavy concept. Last time, I think we talked about it, where I had my my deal with TikTok, where I woke up in the middle of the night and read. So I saw this video that came up. I think it was on Instagram yesterday, and it was really, really cool because, and it was a heavy concept, and I wanted to run it by you, because what this monk was saying, he was like this Zen monk. He was like, he had this diagram. And when I'm in my studio, I'll be able to put the video up of this. But
that's nice.
He had this diagram, and he's like A and B. He's like, and then he drew a circle around him, and he's like, we think that A is in a relationship with B. And that is really not reality. It's actually false. And I was like, that's pretty intriguing. Keep going. And he was like, so you think you're in a relationship with somebody, right? He goes, but that's not reality. That's your perception. And so much of Zen is about reality. It's about what is reality? What is the real reality? And what he was getting at that was so kind of heavy was, he was like, if so much of Zen is that suffering exists in the mind, right? Your suffering all exists in the mind,
Only
if you didn't, what's that?
It only exists in the mind, right?
It only exists in the mind. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even if someone's poking you, it's a reaction in the mind. But so much of what we experience, I was explaining this to someone yesterday, that a client that I work with, that, when we are children, when you're 2-3 years old, you look at a child. My daughter at 4 or 5 years old, she would get on top of the table in a restaurant and start singing to everybody. She didn't give a shit. That's what brought her joy. She did not have any shame. She didn't have any self-consciousness. She just sang. And when she was done singing, she just sit down and start eating or doing whatever she wanted to do,
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, how do we lose that? Right?
It's programming. It's a collective programming.
Yeah.
Like, because the parents go, no, you can't do that. We're in public. You can't stand on the table and sing. People don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, what would the world be like if everybody got, and it's strange, because I guess you can make the argument that we do need some level of order to exist within a large group of people, but the nuances of it all get so very, it just seems to stifle who we really are down deep.
Well, I think what you're saying is really interesting, is that, so you have a parent that is self-conscious, right? And embarrassed, right, by the child's behavior, and then so seeks to control the child and pass on that shame of public displays. Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And that's exactly what I'm getting at, is that, so then this gets passed down from generation to generation, right?
Over and over.
And so, what's that?
Over and over.
Over and over and over. And we have this legacy of this thing. And so what I was explaining is that, so before you know it, the child wants to do something, but then what stops the child from doing it? The voice in the child's head that is replicating what the parent said.
Yeah.
Right? So now we've created in the psyche this character. And this character is now, whenever the child wants to do something, says, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Why? One of the reasons is it's a protector of the child, because the shame and embarrassment, or maybe even punishment, or scorn or scolding, whatever it is that the child received from the parent for stepping out of line, right? This thing that arises in the child's psyche is protecting the child from stepping out of line and being scolded again, because it's so uncomfortable. But the problem is this thing that's in the child's head It doesn't go away when the child's 8 years old or 12 years old or 15 years old or 50 years old.
No, it stays there forever, and it compounds, and it becomes
forever.
a giant fucking thing, and it adds and it feeds on itself.
That's right. That's right. So the basis of suffering is right here. Is this thing that was created in childhood that grows like a shadow and it follows people everywhere. That is suffering. But it's not only suffering, it inhibits our success, our dreams, our wishes, our goals, whatever we want to do. We go and you know, for some people that is it's a lot louder, right? And it's a lot more critical. And so before you know it, you feel like a piece of shit everywhere you go because you were scolded or scorned or reprimanded, whatever you want to call it, in childhood. And this thing is growing and growing and growing and growing. And I think you hit on something. I think you really hit on it. For some reason, this thing grows as we get older. And it gets worse in middle age, when we hit middle age.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I deal with
maybe
it.
we start to lose the plasticity of the brain as we get older, you know?
Well, and it's so I feel like you grow up, you hit like your late teens, your early 20s, you start like developing this sense of self and this sense of identity, but not realizing that so much of this identity and sense of self that you're developing is in response to these things that you're talking about. And then you hit middle age, and then maybe you're lucky enough to have some insight into this and awareness that this is a thing. But then it's like, well, wait a second, this sense of self that I have spent the last 20 years having, there are all these holes in it, and you know, all these issues with these things that you may have thought served you, or you thought that you thought this, but you don't really think that. And it's super complicated, and then like relationships that you have that, like, you know, may have served you while you were thinking in a certain way, but then, you know, that form of thinking doesn't serve you anymore. And, you know, do you even like what you think you like? Do you want what you think you want? It's fucking, it's enough to fucking drive you to drink. And
yes, because it's there is within, this is the whole point of Zen and all this work, is that there is within the mind a maze, right? For so many of us, like, we're aware, and awareness is it. I agree with you 100%. Most people aren't even aware. They're like, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I don't want to do this, and this. What they're really saying is, I don't want to delve into my subconscious psyche. I don't feel comfortable. It makes me uncomfortable to even think about it. So what I would rather do, instead of internalizing my attention, I would rather externalize and find things to distract me from the discomfort of this thing inside my head. And so give me, like we've talked about before, coping mechanisms. Give me hard work. Give me vacations. Give me this, and this, and this, and this, so long as I don't have to spend any time with this thing in here.
Yeah, because it's painful. It's painful. And it's like, you know, it's also hard to understand. And the closer you get to it, the more painful it is, the more you want to not deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I tell people is that what I found is that the first and foremost is to be aware that all of us have this thing in here, right? All of us have this character in here, and many of us have many characters. And there's a type of analysis of the subconscious called internal family systems.
Yeah.
And that's what this deals with, is that we have these things that rise up, you know, as we talked about it from this thing arises as a protector. It's there to protect us from being scolded, scorned, whatever it is, punished, whatever, to keep us in line so we don't step out of line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but just to be aware that this thing is here and it has its own personality. It is a protector. But first we have to be even aware of it. Right. And then what I try and tell people is like, because, you know, it's like going on to a jiu-jitsu mat, right? There is this part that's going, don't do this, don't da 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 da. Because if you lose, guess what happens? It's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
And people are going to make fun of you and blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, you know, however it feels. The sting of loss is so great that this thing wants to keep us from taking chances. But the important thing to realize is that I tell people is this is not you. You are not this thing. This thing is inside of your psyche, but it is not you. It is a separate entity, right? Your mind is not your friend. It is a part of your mind and it's not real. It's not real and it's not you. So you need to start. I always tell people start using the correct language with yourself. So when I'm stepping on a jiu-jitsu mat, I'm immediately aware this thing is going like, dude, fake an injury, shouldn't be here, you're too old, you're too young, whatever it's telling you, it's there for all of us. Don't do this, don't climb this rock, don't surf this wave, don't play this music, you know, don't get on the table and dance, you know? But it's not you. It's not me. It's just another part of me. It's a part of my psyche. And that right there is just the vernacular of saying to yourself, okay, this is just my mind speaking. It's not me. Because some people are like, they use the language like, I beat myself up. No, you don't beat yourself up. The protector, this thing in there is beating you up, right?
I like the internal family systems. I listened to that dude when he was on Rich Roll. I heard something today. I started following this kooky British guy that's in L.A. He's in Topanga. He was like a former actor or something like that. Now he's kind of doing like similar to stuff we talk about, like inner work and he said something pretty interesting. He said no. Like people looking like, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be accepted and validated. He goes, but you'll never be loved by anybody more than you love yourself.
That's exactly where we were going with this.
And I thought that was pretty powerful. Like you can never expect anybody to like you people get into relationships or they look for validation and they're looking for other people to kind of, soothe. And he goes, at best, other people can help soothe, but they'll never heal and they'll never cure because no one can love you more than you love yourself. And I was like, wow, that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy.
It's all like interrelated, in the fact that, that's what the Zen monk was saying was that, the reality is you think that you're loving someone else and they're loving you. The reality is it's all in here. And if you don't love yourself, it's really a self-love thing, right? We are not this thing up here. We're not the voices. We're not the thoughts. We're not these protectors in our psyche. We are that pure awareness behind it all. And when we can allow ourselves, when we can break free of that and just have, and I mean break free from with moments of silence and then extend moments of silence, then we can feel the love that is the pure awareness within us. That is what it is. And sometimes when we're with someone else, we get with that person. It doesn't last. You're with someone and then you're excited, whatever. And there's that honeymoon period, right? It's more of a thrill, more of a distraction. It's more of serotonin and dopamine and all of those things and chemical reactions, which are amazing drugs, drugs, right?
Probably the
Even
most
being,
powerful drug.
yeah, in the world.
Yep, I
And
think so.
even the serotonin that we feel with other people that who are very calm, or when we're with someone who's very calming to us, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But at the end of the day, the discipline comes from being able to regulate ourselves and do that for ourselves. And that's really what what the Zen monk was saying. He was like, this is all a misperception of thinking this thing up here is you. It's not. It's just part of your psyche, but it's not you. You are your pure awareness. And it's the same thing with love, just like you were saying, right? A lot of things we mistake for love, they're not love, you know? A lot of things we mistake for happiness, they're not. Happiness, love is that pure contentment when you're done and you're just like, this is amazing.
You're on zero. You're not like you said, if lack of desire, you're not in a state of desire. You're in a state of default, and you're just kind of letting the river flow. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't
but
get I don't get there too often.
it's hard, man.
It's been a
hard. It's
long
hard.
fucking time since I've been there.
For me, with meditation, I'm able to get there a couple times a day.
That's
And
awesome.
the idea is that, yeah, it's a combination of doing it a lot and getting the body to cycle down, going down through the conscious mind, letting the thoughts go. They're uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes sitting there is very, very uncomfortable. The feelings and the energy, but slowly the attention will descend down through the conscious mind, down through the subconscious mind. And then
can you hear
once the
Mr.
attention,
Softy coming through the subconscious mind right now? Can you hear that?
No, what is that?
There's like a Mr. Soft. That might be a New York thing. Mr. Softy's like the ice cream man, and
Oh, okay.
he's ripping out my window right now. It's not coming through the mic.
No.
That's cool.
That's good. That's a very Zen thing, right? That's an auspicious sign. An auspicious sign that as we're talking about this, Mr. Softy is calling us down through the subconscious.
Eat some fucking ice cream, bro. Just
Ice cream is Zen. You'll be happy.
Crazy.
Ice cream is actually one of the things that, it hits my brain and I'm like, oh yeah, cold, sugar, texture, it's wonder velvety. It's so
it's a pretty good thing.
It's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. Yeah, but the meditation and learning how to do that and learning how to go down and letting the energy dissipate from the body is like, so what happens with me with meditation, because a lot of people are like, man, it's so uncomfortable. I don't like sitting there. I'm like, I get it. But if you condition the mind to do it enough, it'll start to crave it. And so now, like, my mind craves it the moment I wake up, and it's like everything, man. And then after like 2:00, but it's like everything. The more you do it, the easier it gets, just like with Jiu-Jitsu. It's a practice.
Sure. It's a practice.
You're
and
practicing.
The more you do it, the easier it gets to do.
Yeah, and you're practicing watching your thoughts. I call it the 3 R's. We recognize we're having a thought, we release the thought, and we return. Return to the mantra. Return to whatever our breath, whatever it is, and just keep letting things go. And eventually, sometimes from even just a neurological perspective, allowing the mind to sit in silence will help clear the brain, of tau and things like that. I mean, the benefits of engaging in a practice like this are enormous, but I do understand that it's hard. It's like for anything at first, it's hard to establish that kind of routine.
And I think it's hard for a lot of people because of like they assign a lot of assumptions and like presuppositions to like what it is. Whereas like I don't think like, you know, not enough people understand that like you could remove all of the spirituality out of it completely, and you can just look at it as a, you know, mechanic to, you know, make the engine run better. Like, you know, if you,
when I teach people, I'm like, it's science of the mind. I don't see the spirituality in it at
yeah,
all.
this is just like plugging your phone in at the end of the night. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah, I
same
mean,
thing.
that's why I think this is so relevant to the concept of Vitruvian 5000 is because, you know, this is science, man. A lot of things most things we're talking about are science. It's just like, I think people looked at pranayama breathing and they were like, you know, oh, they can slow the body down to where, you know, you can extend aging and all that. That's nonsense. Oh, but then all of a sudden Wim Hof comes along and is doing breathing techniques, pranayama type breathing techniques, and is climbing Mount Everest in his in surf trunks, and is dunking himself in, you know, freezing cold water and exposing himself to hypothermia and being fine. And also then in a lab injecting his body with toxins and neutralizing them. Now, years ago, 20, even 10, 15 years ago, that would have been looked at like some crazy spiritual nonsense.
Yep.
Now it's science.
Yep.
Meditation is no different. There's no spirituality to it. It's meditation of the mind.
Well, there doesn't have to be. I mean, if you want to add it and that does something for you, that's fine. You know what I mean? You want to get into, you know, transcendental stuff and you want to, you know, that's fine, but it doesn't have to be.
But even like, even the idea of transcendental meditation was first brought to the West by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. He's a physicist.
Yeah.
He was an educated physicist, and his idea was this is science of the mind. This is not about reincarnation. This is not about any of that stuff. This is science of the mind. And the way that it's explained with them, it's pretty cool. You know, Sir Roger Penrose, one, I probably talked about him before, won Nobel Prize 2020, I think, physicist. And his big belief is in panpsychism. And panpsychism holds that beneath all quantum fields, beneath the Higgs boson and all of that, there is a field of consciousness, right? And again, many physicists believe this, and that is what the idea behind meditation is that there's this field of consciousness beneath everything. This is science, physics. And then you have these other fields, but the most fundamental field of everything is this bottom field. And then through here, our brains, it was really interesting. Roger Penrose believes in microtubules in the brain, that actually saying that the brain is a quantum computer and that quantum entanglement is how the brain really works.
I believe that the brain is a quantum computer. I believe that. And we just have not mastered the art of programming it yet. You know what I mean? Because it's so obvious. It's so obvious. Like even just meditation, like what we're talking about. Like you break it down to simple context. And if you practice meditating, you will be able to slow down your mind. You will be less anxious. You'll be able to deal with problems better. You'll be able to make better decisions. You will feel better. Just basic stuff. Forget about, and you know, and that's taking a step to program the computer, you know, and that's the little that we know at this point.
Yeah. And you're right. And that's the science of it. It's science of the mind. And that allows us. So with their belief, with like transcendental meditation, the science of meditation is that, you know, you are in the conscious state, you dip down below the conscious mind into the subconscious mind, then your attention drifts below that to where it's pure awareness, which is the quantum field of consciousness. And that experiencing our attention dipping down into that, which is our true nature, that is what is so reinvigorating about it. That is why people who meditate are biologically younger than people who don't meditate.
Yeah.
That's a fact. So you look at biological aging and meditation, It's shown. The benefits of meditation, even after just 2 weeks, are enormous. I tell people it's one way to really start dealing with your urges and your to eat and binge and compulsions to do whatever it is, sex, whatever it is, because when you start watching the mind enough, you also start watching your compulsions. And as you watch them, they will rise like a thought. Then if we let it go, it will slowly weaken. And the more we do that,
you start to see the patterns. You start to notice.
Yeah, you see the patterns. That's it, man. It's all about the patterns. It's freaking crazy. Anyways,
man.
It's cool, man. So what did the guy say that you were watching? Did he say anything else about?
Well, he was talking a lot about like the parents and like the childhood trauma. And he was saying, like, he had this one video where he was like, the childhood trauma is the great, once you're able to understand it for what it is, the greatest gift that your parents could ever give you is the childhood trauma, because it's the gateway into understanding that at some point you have to be your own parent. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be the validator. You have to be the one who loves yourself. You have to be the one that gives you permission to be whoever it is that you are. And, where we go through life with these early memories of, validation provided by two imperfect people who, just like we're imperfect, they were imperfect, and whatever their level of understanding was what their level of understanding. They did what they could. And, but, like, there's no, it's like it's an absent thing in our education as people, you know what I mean? Like this, like, I mean, it's starting to be talked about more and more now. And it's also starting to be, now everybody's like childhood trauma, and it's used as like an excuse. But it's real. I mean, it affects.
I don't look at it. That's another loaded term where, I overheard someone saying that the other day. It was like, yeah, my dad used to beat me twice a day and it was the best thing ever and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, tough guy. I got you.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The point is we all have impressions in our psyche. We all have this character up here. And until you're willing to look at what the impressions are and clear them from the psyche, they're called samskaras. As soon as we're willing to be vulnerable and brave enough and courageous enough to deal with it and not run from it and say, we don't need to deal with it, I'm too tough, then we can clear the mind of that. And that is what liberation is. That's what enlightenment is. It's liberating ourselves from all the samskaras so that we walk into every moment happy. We don't have this. We don't have this. We don't have anything but, I'm in a new moment. It's pretty damn cool to be alive in this incredible cosmic dream. And until we clear those things out, we're going to carry the burden of those things, of the guilt or whatever it is, whatever hang up, whatever impression in our subconscious is going to plague us in every moment. That's, in Japanese, the concept is shoshin, right? And so shoshin is, I'm going to go into every moment with the beginner's mind, with no preconceptions, no expectations, no judgment. I'm just here. Whoa, it's pretty cool.
How much like in a regular life, like not the life of a monk who goes to the mountains to pursue this. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in a regular life. I wonder how much is possible. You know what I mean? Like how far can we get? How so I guess it's different for everyone, right?
We can get to Vitruvian 5,000 level. Motherfucker.
Yeah, man.
That's it. No, I think it's totally, that we now live in an age of information where we are now, dude, we were growing up, we were kids, it were 3 channels, No one was putting any of this. No one, even if people knew it, they weren't putting it on the news. Now we've got podcast, YouTube, and people are like, this is.
You're carrying around every single sensory, stimulation in a little magic box in your pocket. And it's constantly coming. I mean, if you think about fucking what's coming at you between, the political unrest, sex, porn, all of it, like there's so much coming at us all of the time.
But what's also coming at us,
mind-boggling.
which is beautiful, is also this stream. If you have this funnel of information, of this pipe of just information coming out of us, there's also a section of it which is about this incredible knowledge that says, you know what I mean? You can wake up. This is what the Matrix, why it was so cool. It's because that's what basically they were saying to Neo. Morpheus was saying to Neo, are you ready to wake up? Because what this pill is going to do for you is it's going to put you on the path where you start looking inside and saying, okay, I want to be liberated. Because what happens is we know the subconscious is 99% of all the functioning of the mind is subconscious, right? So the subconscious clearly is a prism through which and it colors everything that we see. If we're in a bad mood, this thing's on top of us, just giving us shit all the time. We think we're a piece of shit. It's telling us that. Everywhere we go, we see people like a piece of shit. It's like the Doors song, people are strange when you're a stranger. What he was saying was, when you're a stranger, everybody seems strange. When you feel like a stranger somewhere, everybody looks strange. When you feel great about yourself, everybody looks happy, shiny, happy people. Right? So it's not
a subconscious. It's always perspective. It's always perspective.
Yes. But it's a perspective, Jesse, that is colored by the subconscious, not the conscious. The 99% below, and there's no way to even get to it unless you do this work, unless you start saying, all right, I'm going to have to turn my attention from outward, externalizing, back in. And when we do that, then we can start doing the work. We start understanding meditation, internal family systems. And what I think it is that, we know that the mind is a prism that colors everything, but it's also a prison.
And when I was going to say that before when you said prism.
Right? It is a prison. And that's why they call enlightenment liberation. Yeah. It's about gaining freedom from the entire structure of the mind. And once again, imagine pulling it off and stepping out once again as that 4-year-old or 5-year-old who just got on the table and was just happy to be there. That's the goal of all this.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. We'll leave it on that.
Yeah. Hell yeah.